Years of patience and humiliation finally came to an end when she decided to file for divorce. But her husband's family had no plans to let her go peacefully. Her mother-in-law, who always acted like the boss, showed up at the dacha with her sons to throw her out. "Grab your stuff and get off my son's land," she yelled, sure that she could get away with it. But she had no idea what surprise was waiting for them all. Hello, dear listeners. Welcome back to my channel. I have a new, interesting story for you today. Enjoy! Polina Andreevna Volkova stood by the window of her small apartment on Perovskaya Street, looking at the gray buildings across from her. She was 27, had a degree in economics, and worked at a bank. But what now? Her apartment was tiny, the area wasn't great, and she didn't see many opportunities ahead. And then there were the two old apartments her grandmother left her, one two-room place in Izmayovo and a one-room flat in Golnov. They were old and needed repairs, but even rundown apartments in Moscow are worth a lot. Polina spent 6 months thinking about what to do. Sell or rent? Renting was a hassle, tenants are unpredictable, and she didn't have money for repairs. But selling felt wrong. It was her grandmother's gift. Then one day, she was flipping through ads for country homes and saw something special, a plot of land in the village Sosnovaya Dali. 600 square meters, an old garden house. But the pictures were beautiful: pine trees, a lake only 200 meters away, clean air, a gated village with security. Why not? Polina whispered, staring at the photos. She did the math. If she sold both inherited apartments, she'd have just enough money, with a bit left over to start fixing things up. Her heart started racing. Maybe this was fate? The first apartment sold fast. A young couple with a child agreed to her price right away, no bargaining. The second one took a month, but it also sold. By the end of spring, Polina had a good amount of money in her account and lots of plans in her head. She went to see the land on a sunny May day. She took the train to Sergiev Posad, then a bus to the village. It took about 2 hours, but when she reached the gate with a security booth, she thought it was worth it. "Who are you visiting?" asked the security guard. A friendly man in his 50s smiled at her. "Plot number 42, Polina said, showing him a printed ad. "Oh yes, the Semenovs," he nodded. "Good people. It's a shame they're moving. Go straight, then left, you'll see a green gate." Polina followed the asphalt path, breathing in deeply. The air was amazing, fresh, like at a resort. It smelled of pine and had a hint of a nearby lake. On both sides of the path were tidy yards with neat houses, blooming gardens, and barbecue areas. The only sounds were birds singing and kids laughing somewhere in the distance. Plot number 42 was even better than in the pictures. It was a clean, rectangular space, 600 square meters, surrounded by young pine trees. In the back stood a small, cozy house with a red tiled roof. But the best part? The view. Right across the road was a real forest. And between the trees, she could see the sparkle of the lake. "Do you like it?" asked the owner, Tatyana Mikhailovna Semenova, a kind-faced woman in her 60s. "It's beautiful," Polina breathed. "It feels like a fairy tale." "We've lived here for 20 years, said Tatyana Mikhailovna with a touch of sadness. "My husband planted every tree, built every path. But our kids are in America now, our grandkids are growing up, and we hardly see them. So we decided to sell and join them." They walked through the garden together. Tatyana told Polina stories, where the flowers grow best, which spots get too windy in winter, and where the nicest shade is in summer. Polina could already picture it. A big house here, a terrace with a lake view, a playground over there. "So, are you buying it?" Tatyana asked when they reached the gate again. "I'll take it," Polina said without hesitation. A week later, they met at the notary's office. The paperwork went quickly, everything was in order. The land had been privatized long ago, with no legal issues. Polina read the contract carefully. Buyer, Volkova Polina Andreevna. Owner. Everything was clear and official. "Good luck, dear," said Tatyana, handing her the keys. "I hope this place brings you as much joy as it brought us." Polina held the keys tightly. Her heart felt full. Her own land, Her own little piece of heaven. Now she could plan. Now she could dream. That's when Dennis came into her life. They met at a gym. Polina was on the treadmill when a tall, dark-haired man with a kind face started warming up next to her. Their eyes met a few times. He smiled. She looked away, a little shy. After the workout, he came up to her himself. "Hi, I'm Dennis," he said, reaching out his hand. "Polina," she replied, shaking his strong hand. "Would you like to grab a coffee? There's a great cafe nearby." Dennis Yuryevic was a construction engineer. He worked for a big company and handled industrial projects. He was 32, single, and lived alone in a 2-bedroom apartment on Novokuznetskaya. He spoke well, funny, interesting, but never rude. Polina liked the way he talked right away. He told stories with detail and emotion, making everything come alive. On their second date, Polina decided to take a chance and tell him about the land. They were sitting in a cozy restaurant on Patriarch Street. Polina blushed a little as she pulled out her phone. "I just bought this," she said, showing him photos. "Maybe it was silly, but I really wanted something of my own." Dennis looked closely at the pictures. He zoomed in, asked thoughtful questions, and his eyes lit up. "Polina, this is amazing," he said. "The location, the potential. Do you realize you've bought golden land?" "What do you mean?" she asked. "I mean it literally," he smiled. "It's in an elite village, right by the lake and forest. Great infrastructure. In 5 or 10 years, plots like this will cost several times more. This isn't just a purchase. It's a smart investment." Polina lit up inside. Finally, someone understood her, not someone who thought she'd just wasted her inheritance. "So, what are you planning to build?" Dennis asked. "I'm not sure yet," she admitted. "There's a small house already, but I want something more serious. The thing is, I don't understand construction at all." "Well, I do," Dennis smiled. "If you want, I can come with you and give you my professional opinion." That weekend, they went to the land together. Dennis walked around with a tape measure, took notes, snapped photos, checked the little house inside and out, looked at the utilities, and reviewed the land boundaries. "The foundation on the house is solid," he said. "You could build a second floor or add an extra section. The electricity is good, the well water is clean, and the sewage system is independent and working fine." "Could I build a big house here?" Polina asked. "Of course," Dennis said, pointing to the open part of the land. "Right there, you could build a house about 150 square meters, with a terrace, an attic, and a garage. And you'd still have space for a garden and a cozy backyard." Polina listened, picturing it all. A big, bright home where she could invite guests. A fireplace in the living room, a big kitchen that opened to the terrace, kids' rooms upstairs, and Dennis beside her. Someone who knew what he was doing and wanted to help make her dreams real. Their relationship moved quickly. Dennis was kind and thoughtful. He wasn't stingy, always offered to pay when they went out. He brought her flowers just because, remembered little things that mattered. And most importantly, he shared her dream of a life in the countryside. "You know," he said one night as they lay in bed after making love, "all my life, I've dreamed of having a place where I could build something of my own. Somewhere quiet, where kids can grow up properly, not in all this city smog," Dennis said. "Kids," Polina repeated, snuggling closer to him. "You want kids?" "I do. I really do," Dennis replied. "Then we should get married," he said, just like that. He proposed 3 months after they started dating, in the same cafe where they had coffee the first day they met. No fancy speech. No getting down on one knee. Dennis simply took out a small box and placed it on the table. "Polina, marry me. I love you. I want to build a future with you. A house, a family, a life." The ring was simple but beautiful, a gold band with a small diamond. Polina looked at him, heart pounding. "Yes," she whispered. "Of course, yes." The wedding was small and quiet, just close family. Polina had no parents. Her mother had died 5 years ago, and she barely remembered her father. Dennis brought his mother, Berta Grigoryevna, a stern-looking woman in her 60s who didn't seem very pleased. His brother Maxim came with his wife, and a cousin named Oleg also showed up. From the very beginning, Berta looked at Polina with suspicion. "Where does she work?" she asked Dennis, without even looking at Polina. "She works at a bank, Mom, I told you that." "Does she have her own place?" "She has a one-bedroom apartment." "And how did she buy that land?" "I used the money from selling my grandma's apartment," Polina answered politely. Berta mumbled something under her breath, clearly not happy, but didn't say anything out loud. Polina tried to be nice. She asked about Berta's job, her family, but the coldness didn't go away. After the wedding, the couple went straight to the land. Dennis brought a suitcase full of tools and got right to work. First, he fixed up the porch. Then he started on a gazebo. "We need a proper place for guests," he explained while measuring the space. "It's a little tight inside the house." Polina watched in awe. Dennis was so quick and confident with his hands. He sawed, hammered, and built with skill. By the end of the day, the frame of the gazebo was already up. "I'll bring the floorboards and roof tomorrow," he said, wiping sweat from his face. "Just a couple more weekends, and it'll be done." "You're amazing," Polina said, hugging him. "At last, we'll have a real family home." "We already do," Dennis said. "We're a family now." The first few months of marriage felt like a honeymoon. Every weekend, they went out to the land. Dennis finished building the gazebo. Then he started on the walkways, laying tiles from the gate to the house, and from the house to the gazebo. Polina worked in the garden. She moved flowers, planted new bushes, and arranged flower beds. "Look how pretty it is," she said, showing him the blooming petunias. "Yeah, it looks great," Dennis replied. But Polina noticed something different in his tone. Just a little shift. At first, it was nothing, small comments that didn't seem like a big deal. "I'll fix the fence here," he'd say. Or, "We should dig a drainage ditch here." All practical things. Made sense. But soon, his words started to change. "This is my plot, and it needs to be in order," he said one day after Polina left her gardening tools out of place. "I'm the one in charge here. I decide what gets planted and where," Dennis said one day when Polina suggested moving the roses. "Dennis, but the land is in my name," she reminded him gently. "So what?" he said, looking surprised. "We're a family now. Why does it matter whose name is on the papers? Don't you trust me?" "Of course I trust you," Polina said. "That's not the point." "Then don't be petty, Polina," he replied. "It's not nice." After that, it felt awkward to argue. They were a family now, and families share everything. And Dennis was putting in a lot of time and effort into the land. Polina told herself she was just overthinking. But the little things kept piling up, and slowly, she started to realize that the honeymoon phase was ending. The first rail warning came in September. Polina suggested planting a few apple trees near the fence. "This spot is perfect," she said, showing Dennis the space. "There's enough sunlight, and the roots won't reach the house." "No," Dennis said flatly, not even looking. "No apple trees there." "Why not?" "Because I'm planning to build a workshop there. For tools for my work. There needs to be a proper space for a man's work on my land." Polina froze. "My land," he had said. "Not our land, his." "Dennis, we talked about this. The workshop was supposed to go on the other side." "Plans change," he shrugged. "I know construction better. I know where things should go. You don't mind if I make decisions based on my expertise, do you?" Once again, it sounded like she was making a fuss over nothing. After all, he was a professional. Maybe he did know better. But still, it left a bitter feeling in her stomach. A week later, Dennis showed up with an excavator. Polina arrived that Saturday morning to find that half her flower beds had been dug up. "What happened here?" she asked, staring at the ruined peonies. "I started digging the foundation for the workshop," Dennis said cheerfully. "No point wasting time while the weather's still good. But I planted flowers there. In spring." "Polina, don't act like a child. The flowers can be moved. The foundation has to be strong. I'm doing this for us, for the family." Polina stood there, surrounded by the torn roots of her roses and peonies, a lump rising in her throat. It wasn't even about the flowers. Yes, they could be replanted. But no one had asked her. Decisions were being made on her land, without her voice. Please just warn me next time, she said quietly. Okay, Dennis said with a smile. Sorry, I didn't think. But next time, he didn't warn her either. In October, Polina came to the land and found the old pear tree had been cut down. What happened? She asked. That tree was healthy. It gave fruit. It was in the way, Dennis replied, not even looking up from his building plans. When we build the big house, machines will need to come through. That tree had to go sooner or later. But we haven't even decided where to build the house yet, Polina said. I've decided, Dennis replied. This is the best spot. He pointed at the plan. It fits all the building rules, sunlight, wind direction, everything. I'm the expert here. Or, do you not trust me? There it was again, as if every time she disagreed, it meant she didn't trust him. Polina started to feel trapped, like she couldn't say anything without being accused of doubting him. But she didn't know how to deal with it. By November, the tension had gotten worse. Dennis acted like the land was completely his. Whenever Polina tried to share an opinion, he shut her down with comments about trust and family. I'm the man here, he finally said one day, when Polina questioned his idea to buy expensive equipment on credit. A man should make the decisions. A woman should support him. That's what a normal family is. A normal family makes decisions together, Polina replied. That's just feminist nonsense, Dennis scoffed. Look at my mom. She stood behind my dad like a rock her whole life. And they were happy. Polina wanted to remind him that his dad had died 5 years ago from a heart attack, but she stayed quiet. There was no point arguing. He wouldn't listen. Then in December, a new issue started with the documents. Polina kept all the land paperwork in a folder at home. One night, she noticed the folder was missing. Dennis, have you seen the documents for the plot? She asked. Yes, he said calmly, not even looking up from the TV. I took them to my place. Why? Because a man should hold the property documents. That's a man's responsibility. You could lose them. Please return them to me, Polina said. They're ours, Dennis corrected her. We're a family. I'll keep them safe. It's better this way. Polina felt a chill run through her. Later, she tried to take the documents back, but Dennis had locked them in his personal safe. When she asked again, he said sadly, Don't you trust your husband? That's really disappointing. Polina didn't sleep that night. On one hand, yes, they were married. Maybe it shouldn't matter who keeps the documents. But something about his behavior deeply unsettled her. It felt like he was slowly taking over everything, even things that weren't his. The next morning, she called her friend Oksana, who was a lawyer. Oksana, she said, is it normal if my husband took the documents for property I own? How did he get them? Oksana asked. Did you give them to him? Not really. He just said it was the right thing to do. Polina, whose name is the land under?
Mine.
I bought it before we got married, with my own money. Then he has no right to take those documents, Oksana said firmly. By law, your husband can't make decisions about property you owned before marriage, not without your permission. You need to demand them back. That evening, Polina decided to have a serious talk with Dennis. Dennis, I want you to give the documents back, Polina said. Legally, the land belongs to me, and I should be the one keeping them. Laws are one thing, family is another, Dennis replied. In a normal family, you don't wave laws in your husband's face. What am I studying for, Dennis? To get a divorce? Polina asked.
No.
I'm learning how to stand up for my rights. Your rights? Dennis scoffed. What about my rights? I'm out there working, building, making things better, and you talk to me about rights? That's called being ungrateful. The conversation turned into a huge argument. Dennis slammed the door and went to his mother's house. Polina was left alone, and for the first time in a long while, she actually felt relieved. But the worst was yet to come. In January, a stranger came to Polina's workplace. He introduced himself as a real estate agent. I'm here to talk about selling a plot of land, he said. Selling what? Polina was confused. Your husband contacted our agency. He said you want to sell your plot in Sosnovyy Dali. We're ready to discuss the offer. Polina's heart sank. My husband has no right to sell that land. It belongs to me. But he's your spouse, the realtor said, and he told us you gave permission. I didn't give any permission, Polina almost shouted. And if my husband contacts you again, know that he's doing it behind my back. The realtor looked embarrassed, apologized, and left. That's when Polina realized this wasn't just Dennis acting like he owned everything. He was really trying to take over her property. That night, she confronted him. Why did you go to a realtor? She asked. I don't know what you're talking about, Dennis said, pretending to be confused. Don't lie. A realtor came to my job today. He said you wanted to sell the plot. Oh, that, Dennis said. I was just checking the market price. Just for general knowledge. You're lying. Polina, you've gone crazy, he snapped. You don't trust me. You're rude. You make a scene. My mom was right. Modern women have completely lost their minds. This has nothing to do with your mom, Polina said. It's about you doing things behind my back. My business. Dennis stood up and looked down at her. Who made this land better? Who built the gazebo? Who laid the paths? Who dug the hole for the workshop? You think all that work means nothing. It means something, Polina said calmly. But it doesn't give you the right to control my property. Oh yeah? We'll see what the court says, Dennis snapped. Fixing up land using family money counts as improving property. By law, I can demand compensation. Polina felt like the floor was falling out from under her. Was Dennis really ready to take her to court? Dennis, why are we even talking about court? We're supposed to be a family. Exactly, Dennis said. So stop fighting with me over some papers. The land is ours. I've put so much effort into it, I have every right to make decisions about it. February felt like a Cold War. Dennis stopped going to the property on purpose, and Polina was too afraid to go there alone. She kept thinking, I hope he doesn't pull another stunt. At home, they barely spoke. They slept in different rooms. Polina felt the marriage was falling apart. But she made her final decision after what happened with the banquet. In March, Dennis suddenly seemed cheerful again. Polina, I've got great news, he said at breakfast with a smile. What is it? Remember my old classmate, Seryoga? His son is getting married in May. I offered our place for the wedding banquet. It's perfect. Nature, fresh air, a lake nearby. Polina quietly placed her coffee cup on the table. You offered our place? Without even asking me? Well, yeah. What's the problem? Seryoga loved the idea. He even offered to pay extra because it's so beautiful out there. What extra payment? 50,000. Not bad, right? I already agreed. Polina could feel her anger rising. You rented out my land, took the money, and didn't even talk to me about it? Oh, come on. Dennis rolled his eyes. There you go again, making a big deal. The money's for the family. We'll use it to improve the property. It's for us. Where's the money now? I have it. Where else would it be? A man should manage the family's finances. These aren't family finances, Polina said sharply. That money came from my property, and I didn't give you permission to rent it out. Oh, really? So who was I supposed to ask? I'm not the master in my own home now. In my house, on my land, she replied. Dennis's face changed. He looked angry. So it's all yours now? I'm just a nobody? Just some free labor? Don't twist my words, Polina said. I'm not twisting anything. I'm just saying the truth. You think just because the land is in your name, you get to boss me around?
No.
In a family, the man is the head. The man decides everything. Polina stood up and walked toward the door. Where are you going? Dennis shouted. To see a lawyer, she said. I want to know exactly what rights I have over my own property. And what are you going to tell him? Dennis called after her. That your husband is trying to make money through honest work? Using family land for family needs? Yeah, good luck with that. Polina turned to face him at the door. I'll tell him that my husband is taking over my premarital property and making decisions without my permission. I'm sure a lawyer will have plenty to say about that. Go ahead, Dennis shouted. Just know I'll see a lawyer too. Let's see who wins. Polina slammed the door and left for work. On the way, she called her friend Oksana. I need legal advice.
Urgently.
Can we meet tonight? Of course. What's going on? My husband rented out my land and kept the money. He says it's his right. That doesn't matter, Oksana replied firmly. Property you owned before marriage is still yours, even after you get married. Come over tonight. We'll go over everything in detail. By evening, Polina had a solid plan. Oksana explained everything clearly. The land was bought with money Polina got from selling her inheritance, and it was registered in her name before the marriage. That means it legally belongs only to Polina. Her husband has no rights to it. On top of that, by renting out the land without the owner's permission, Dennis broke the law. File for divorce, Oksana said, before he does something worse. Maybe I should try talking to him one more time? Polina asked. Polina, did you see how he reacted? He wouldn't even listen. Now he's threatening to sue you. That means he already saw a lawyer. He knows he's in the wrong. He's just trying to scare you. Polina went home with her mind made up. Dennis was in the living room, talking on the phone. Yes, Mom. She's lost her mind, he said. Can you believe she's going to talk to lawyers? Of course, come. We need to knock some sense into her. When he saw Polina, he quickly hung up. Listen, Polina, he said. Let's not fight. I get that you're upset. But we're a family. We need to stick together. Give me back the rent money, Polina said calmly. What money? That's for us. Give it back and cancel the rental, she said, or I'm filing for divorce tomorrow. Dennis jumped up. Are you serious? You're going to get divorced over $50,000. It's not about the money, Polina said. It's about how you don't respect my rights. What rights? We're husband and wife.
Exactly.
So you should respect my rights instead of walking all over them. Polina, don't be like this. Dennis tried to hug her, but she stepped back. We used to love each other. We had plans. You had plans, Polina said. Now I have different ones. Dennis's face turned cold.
Fine.
If you want a war, you'll get one. Don't think I'm stupid. And Mom's right. Modern women need to be put in their place. The next day, Polina filed for divorce. 3 days later, she realized the real fight was just beginning. Filing the divorce only took a day. Polina went to the court in the morning, filled out the forms, and paid the fee. Oksana helped her write the claim properly. Divorce due to irreconcilable differences. There was no need to divide anything. They didn't own any property together. The land stays yours, Oksana explained. It was bought before the marriage, so it's your premarital property. The apartment is also yours. It's in your name. Dennis has his own apartment. So legally, there's nothing to divide. What about the gazebo and the garden paths?
Polina asked.
He mentioned getting paid for those. That doesn't count, Oksana said. That was regular maintenance for a shared home, not a serious investment. He lived there, used the space. He won't get any compensation. Polina felt a huge sense of relief. Finally, someone told her clearly she wasn't crazy. Her rights really were being violated. That evening, she came home. Dennis wasn't there, probably at his mother's again. There was a note on the table. Think it over. Don't destroy the family over stupid things. Polina crumpled the note and tossed it in the trash. Stupid, she thought, is when a husband uses someone else's property without asking. Standing up for yourself, that's just common sense. Dennis came back at midnight. He looked strange, a mix of guilt and anger. So, he said from the doorway, did you file it? Filed it?
So how do you feel now?
Proud of yourself. I feel fine. What about you? I feel like I married a ____, Dennis muttered. My mom was right from the beginning. She said, don't marry a woman without a family. Orphans are always ungrateful. Polina froze. Hearing something like that from a man she once loved hurt deeply. At least now you've shown who you really are, she said. I thought I was divorcing a normal person. Who I really am. Dennis gave a cold laugh. You haven't seen anything yet. You think filing for divorce is the end of this? You're wrong. What does that mean?
Polina asked.
It means that land isn't just yours. I've put a lot of work and money into it. Half of it is mine, and I'll prove it. In court, she asked. Not just in court. There are other ways to make things fair. The tone of his voice gave Polina goosebumps. There was something threatening behind his words. Are you threatening me? I'm warning you, Dennis said. Don't mess with me, Polina. You might regret it. Get out, she said, trying to keep her voice steady. And leave the keys.
No way.
This is my home too.
No, it's not.
And if you don't leave, I'll call the police. Dennis paused, clearly judging how serious she was. Then he shrugged.
Fine.
I'll take my stuff and go. But this isn't over, Polina. It's just the beginning. He packed some clothes and left, slamming the door hard behind him. Polina locked all the doors and, for the first time in months, felt like she could finally breathe. But that feeling didn't last long. 3 days later, on Saturday morning, she went to the land. She just wanted to be in nature and think quietly about her future. She took the train, then a bus, then walked the familiar road through the village. Everything looked the same, but this time, her heart felt lighter. The land welcomed her with peace and silence. The first spring flowers were pushing up through last year's dry leaves. The air was fresh and clean. Polina unlocked the small house, opened the windows to air it out, and put the kettle on. Finally, she was alone, on her own land. No one was telling her what to do. No one was changing her plans. She walked around the plot, making new plans. She'd plant roses where the old ones had been destroyed by the excavator. She'd start a vegetable garden. Tomatoes, cucumbers, herbs. In the far corner, she would set up a little relaxation area with a hammock. Around 1 p.m., 2 cars pulled up near the gate. First came an old dark blue Toyota, then a red Ziguli with a dented fender. 4 people got out. Polina recognized Dennis right away. The others she had seen only once at the wedding. But she remembered them. The woman in the tracksuit with a big chest, that was Berta Grigorievna, his mother. The tall man with the thick neck was his brother, Maxim. The thin guy in the leather jacket was his cousin, Oleg. All 4 looked serious, like they came with a purpose. Berta Grigorievna was waving her hands and pointing at the land. Maxim and Oleg nodded and cracked their knuckles. Polina quickly stepped inside the house and pulled a foldable bat out of her bag, just in case. She had bought it a week ago when Dennis first started making threats. Oksana had warned her. Better safe than sorry. The group came closer to the gate. Berta Grigorievna was the first to speak, and she was ready for a fight. Hey you, the woman yelled, not even calling Polina by her name. Come out. We need to talk. Polina stepped out of the house with a calm face, though inside, she was burning with anger. Hello, Berta Grigorievna, she said politely. What brings you to my private property? Yours, the mother-in-law scoffed. This isn't your land, sweetheart. This is my son's. He worked hard here, fixed it up, improved everything. You think you can just take it all? The land is registered in my name, Polina said calmly. I have all the documents to prove it. And right now, you're trespassing on private property without permission. Documents. Berta Grigorievna snorted. Your papers don't mean anything. My Dennis is in charge here. He always was and still is. Your Dennis is no longer my husband. We're getting a divorce, Polina replied. Oh, getting a divorce? The woman's voice got louder. And you think you can keep the land? No way. Dennis spent so much money and time on this place. Half of it belongs to him. And by what right? Polina asked, her voice getting sharper. By the right of nerve. Maxim stepped forward. Watch your tone, lady. We came here talking politely, and you're being rude. I don't need to talk to you at all, Polina snapped. Get off my land before I call the police. The police? Oleg laughed. And what will you tell them? That your relatives came to visit. I'll tell them 4 people came onto private property without permission and are threatening the owner. Berta Grigorievna stepped closer to the gate. Listen to me, you shameless __, she hissed. Take your junk and leave my son's land now, or it's going to get worse. Oh, really? Or what? Polina picked up the bat and held it up so they could see. Wanna find out? She looked so serious that even Maxim started to hesitate. This small woman was holding the bat like she knew exactly how to use it. Are you crazy? Berta Grigoryevna shouted. You're pointing a bat at your poor ex-mother-in-law? Former mother-in-law, Polina corrected her. And I'm not trying to hurt anyone. I'm just giving you a warning. This is private property, protected by law. Entering without permission is against the law. And threatening someone is a criminal offense, she added. Threats. Dennis jumped in, trying to sound innocent. We just came to talk. We've talked, Polina said. Now leave. We're not leaving, Berta Grigoryevna snapped. This is my son's land. He built a gazebo here with my money on my land. With your money?
Polina asked.
You never even paid him a salary. He spent the family's money. Family money? Polina smiled. Your son didn't work for 6 months. I paid for everything on this land, including the materials for the gazebo. And that was true. Dennis had lost his job in October and didn't find another until January. Everything on that land, every bill, every supply, was paid for from Polina's salary. You're lying, Berta Grigoryevna shouted. My son has always worked. Ask him. Dennis turned red and stayed quiet. Maxim looked at him with clear disappointment. So that's how it is, Berta muttered, switching tactics. We're being nice about this. Leave the house on your own, and we'll give you a week to pack. If you don't, we'll throw you out ourselves. That's a direct threat, Polina said firmly and pulled out her phone. I'm calling the police. Maxim ran toward the gate. Put the phone down, you __, he yelled. But the gate was locked and Polina was standing 3 meters away. Maxim tried to climb the fence. But Polina hit his hands so hard he screamed across the whole village. She broke my arm, he cried, clutching his right hand. If you try again, I'll break your left one too, Polina warned. Oleg tried to sneak in from the other side of the fence. But Polina was ready. Following Oksana's advice, she had bought a non-lethal pistol. Suddenly, a loud shot rang out. Oleg screamed and fell off the fence, holding his backside. Mom, he yelled. She's shooting. She killed me. She didn't kill you, Polina said calmly. Just wounded you. Next time, I'll aim higher. Berta Grigoryevna ran to check on her son and nephew. This is lawlessness. Outrageous, she yelled. I'll report you to the police. I'll go to the prosecutor. Go ahead, Polina said. But be sure to tell them why you were trespassing on private property and making threats. What threats? We were just talking, Berta snapped. I have everything recorded, Polina said, waving her phone. The voice recorder was on the whole time. Even your line about throwing me out, it's all there. Dennis could see things were going badly. Legally, they were in the wrong. And clearly, his wife wasn't as helpless as she looked. Mom, let's go, he said, grabbing Maxim's arm. Maxim, can you walk? I don't know, Maxim groaned. I think my bone is cracked. I definitely can't, Oleg moaned from ground. My butt is on fire. Polina looked at them calmly. Berta Grigoryevna, please get your nephew off my land, or I'll add more charges. He's injured? That's his fault. He shouldn't have climbed the fence. They dragged Oleg to the car. Maxim was still moaning, holding his arm. Berta was the last to leave. She turned around and shouted, This isn't over. We'll be back. You'll pay for this, you __. I'll be waiting, Polina replied calmly. The cars finally drove off. All that was left was a torn piece of Oleg's jacket caught on the fence. Polina sat on the porch, her hands shaking from the stress. She had won, but it had been intense. Could people really be that shameless? She called her friend Oksana and told her everything. Well done, Oksana said. You handled it right. But be careful now. They might try to get back at you. What else could I do?
Polina asked.
Just give up the land? No way. Of course not. Just stay alert. And if anything happens, call the police immediately. Polina spent a few more hours on the property, calming herself down. Strangely, after everything that happened, she felt stronger. Turns out she could stand up for herself. Turns out bold people can be stopped with firmness and confidence. That evening, she went back to the city. At home, she found 3 voice messages from Dennis. Polina, you've lost your mind. You beat up my brother. You crippled Oleg. This is a criminal case, Dennis said in a voice message. Listen to me carefully. Tomorrow you go to Maxim, say sorry, and pay for his treatment. If not, things will get worse. You think you won? You're wrong.
We'll show you.
Polina deleted the messages without even listening to the rest. She wasn't scared of her ex-husband anymore. After what happened, she realized she could protect herself. But the really interesting part started a week later, when rumors began to spread about what was happening in the Makiev family. It turned out Dennis hadn't told his family the truth about their visit to the plot. According to him, they went there peacefully just to talk, but Polina suddenly attacked them with a bat and a gun. Maxim ended up in the hospital with a fractured arm and needed serious treatment. Dennis had to borrow money to pay the bills. Oleg couldn't sit for 3 days and had to carry a pillow around just to sit for the whole week. When people asked about his injuries, he told different stories: that a dog bit him, that he fell off a bike, or got hurt in a fight. But the marks on his backside stayed for a long time, and every time he went to the sauna, he had to come up with a new excuse. Berta Grigorievna didn't go to the police. The situation was too messy. Why did 4 people show up to one woman's place? Why were they on someone else's land? Who started the fight? She didn't want to answer those questions. 2 weeks later, Polina heard something even better. Dennis had met someone new, a coworker named Svetlana. He fell in love and even asked her to move in. Svetlana was practical. When she found out Dennis had a share in some land, she got excited. Deniska, when are we going to your dacha? She asked. I want to see our future home. Dennis hesitated. It's a little complicated right now. Complicated?
Why?
Isn't it your land? Well, not exactly. It's still in my ex-wife's name.
What?
Where's your share? I don't have it yet, but I'm going to fight for it in court. So, you don't actually own anything? Not yet, but I will. I promise. Svetlana didn't like the sound of that. She wanted a man with real property and someone honest. After about a month, their relationship started falling apart. Svetlana kept bringing up the land. Dennis got more and more tangled in his stories. Finally, she asked him directly, Look, if you don't have land, and there's no real chance you'll get it, then what are we even doing? That's not true. Dennis argued. I told you, the court case is still going on. It's been 3 months. No progress? The lawyers say it's a complicated case. Or maybe you're just making it up. Dennis felt stuck. If he told the truth, that the land was gone, he'd lose Svetlana. But if he kept lying, the truth would come out anyway.
So he snapped.
Why are you being so pushy, Svetlana? Not everything in life is about land. For me, it does matter, Svetlana said calmly. I'm not going to spend my whole life renting apartments and just dreaming about a summer house. Go find yourself some rich sugar daddy then, Dennis snapped. I will, she said. And you'll be stuck with your mommy and your broken brother. That same evening, Svetlana packed her things and left. Dennis was left alone, with nothing but his ego and big talk. Meanwhile, Polina was starting fresh. 2 months after filing, the divorce was finalized. Dennis didn't even come to the court hearing. He just sent a lawyer who said Dennis agreed to the divorce, but wanted a share of the property. Polina's lawyer explained everything clearly to the judge. The land was bought before the marriage. It was paid for with money Polina got from selling an apartment she inherited. All of this was backed by documents. This is clear, said the judge. Marriage dissolved. Property division denied. Polina left the courthouse feeling light and free. She was finally legally her own person again. But Dennis wasn't ready to give up. A week later, he filed a new lawsuit. He wanted the court to give him half of the land, saying he deserved it because of the time and money he invested. This is nonsense, said Polina's friend Oksana after reading the papers. He has no proof. No bills, no receipts, no contracts. He built the gazebo and paths using your money. At most, he might claim something for his labor, but even that doesn't count, since he lived on the land and used it too. That's already compensation. 3 months later, the court heard the case. Denis brought 2 witnesses, Maxim and Oleg. They swore Denis had worked so hard and spent so much money on the land. He worked like crazy, said Maxim, waving his healed arm. Day and night, all summer long. That gazebo he built? Amazing, Oleg added. He spent 50,000 on it. But when the judge asked for proof, receipts, bank records, anything, they froze. What documents? Maxim asked, confused. He did it for the family, not for the tax office. Without documents, there's no proof, the judge said firmly. And relatives' testimonies don't count much in cases like this. Polina presented all the official papers. Purchase documents for the land. Proof of inheritance. Bank statements. Everything showed the land was bought with her money before the marriage. But he made improvements. Denis's lawyer protested. He made them with the owner's permission, Polina's lawyer replied. And he used the property too. That doesn't mean he owns it or deserves money. After hearing both sides, the judge gave the final decision. Denis's claim is denied. The land belongs 100% to Polina. Denis left the courtroom fuming. The judge is corrupt, he muttered. It's all rigged. There's no justice. Denis, maybe that's enough? Maxim said, exhausted. My arm still hurts. I paid a lot for treatment, and for what? It's not over. Denis barked. I'll show that witch. But he had nothing left to show. The law wasn't on his side anymore. And after that beating with a bat and non-lethal gun, no one wanted to mess with Polina again. Polina, on the other hand, was finally free to follow her dreams. The first thing she did was hire an architect to design a new house. A friend recommended someone young and talented, who didn't charge a fortune. In May, the architect arrived. Alexei Vladimirovich Stroganov, around 35, tall, with kind gray eyes and a calm way of speaking. What a great place, Alexei said as he walked around the land. Such a good location. So much potential. What kind of house do you want to build? Polina shared her dream. A big house, but not too big, about 150 square meters. A large living room with a fireplace, a kitchen with a dining area, an office downstairs, and 3 bedrooms upstairs. I also want a terrace with a forest view and a garage for 2 cars. Is that possible? She asked. Absolutely, Alexei replied. This land is perfect for that. I'll make a few design options, and you can pick the one you like most. Alexei worked fast and knew what he was doing. 2 weeks later, he brought Polina 3 house designs. All were beautiful and well thought out, but one stood out to her immediately. This one, she said, pointing at the plan. This is exactly what I dreamed of. Great choice, Alexei smiled. It's my favorite too. They started meeting every week to go over the details. Polina found out that Alexei wasn't just a talented architect, he was also easy to talk to. He spoke about how buildings affect people's lives and how important it is to create not just something beautiful, but something comfortable and balanced. A home should reflect the person who lives in it, he said. Your future home is open, full of light, but strong, just like you. Polina felt shy when he said things like that, but it also made her feel warm inside. It had been a long time since anyone spoke to her with such kindness and respect. By summer, the house project was complete. Alexei helped her find a good construction crew, suggested where to buy the building materials, and agreed to supervise the whole process. I want your house to turn out just like you imagined, he said. I'll personally check every step. Construction started in June. Polina came every weekend to see the progress. Alexei visited 2 or 3 times a week, checked the work, and spoke with the workers. Slowly, their relationship started to go beyond work. They took walks around the land, talked about garden ideas, and had tea in the old gazebo, the one Polina chose to keep as a reminder of the past. Why keep memories of bad times? Alexei asked one day. It's not about the bad, Polina said softly. It reminds me that I stood up for myself. I didn't let anyone walk over me. Let the gazebo remind me. I'm stronger than I look. You really are strong, Alexei said seriously. Not many women would have had the courage to do what you did. They were clearly drawn to each other, but both took things slow. Polina had just gone through a divorce, and Alexei was naturally cautious. Meanwhile, trouble was brewing in Denis's life. After losing the court case, he fell into a deep depression. Work wasn't going well either. His bosses didn't like that he kept missing days because of court. His love life was also a mess. After Svetlana left, he met a few other women, but none of the relationships lasted. As soon as things got serious, the women would ask if he owned any property. Denis would start telling them about the land. Then they'd find out he didn't actually own it. Maybe it's time to let it go, said Maxim, who had been recovering from a broken arm for 6 months and swore never to get involved in his ex-sister-in-law's business again. Find a good woman, start a family. I can't let it go, Denis shouted. That's not fair, Denis said. I put so much into that place. What did you put in? Someone asked. A few bags of cement and some wood? It wasn't just money, Denis snapped. It was my time, my effort, even my soul. And she threw me out like I was nothing. His mother, Berta Grigorievna, made it worse. That's right, son. You can't let women treat men like that. In our time, this would never happen. So, what do we do now? Denis asked. I don't know, she said. Maybe go see a psychic and put a curse on her. Oleg, still bitter about being laughed at for wearing torn pants, had another idea. Why think so much? Wait for her in a dark alley and scare her. Maybe she'll back down. Scare her?
How?
I don't know. Scratch her car, break a window. Let her know the game is over. But even in his anger, Denis knew those kinds of things could land him in jail. And he didn't want to go to prison over that stupid piece of land. Then in August, something happened that broke him completely. He met Marina, a woman his age, smart, pretty, funny, and working as an accountant at a big company. They started dating, and things looked promising. Over dinner one night, Marina said, I've always dreamed of having a house outside the city. It doesn't have to be big, just a place where I can grow flowers and vegetables and maybe raise kids in nature. Do you have children? Denis hesitated. Not yet, but I want kids. What about you? I want them too, Marina said with a smile. Denis hadn't really thought about having kids, but he said what he thought she wanted to hear. Do you have a plot of land? And then Denis made his big mistake. Instead of telling the truth, that he didn't own any land, he lied. Yes, he said. I have a beautiful plot in a fancy village. 600 square meters, pine trees, lakes nearby. The house is old, but the land is amazing. Marina's eyes lit up.
Wow.
Can I see it? Soon, Denis said. They're doing renovations right now. Let's wait a bit. But Marina kept asking every weekend to go see it. Denis kept making up excuses, but he knew he couldn't hide the truth much longer. After 3 weeks, Marina got fed up. Denis, I feel like you're lying. This magical land I can never see. What's going on? It's just really messy there right now, he said. Then show me a photo, or at least some documents. They're with the lawyer, he said. There's a court case over property. With who? My ex-wife. So the land isn't yours? She asked, frowning. Well, technically, it's in her name. But I invested a lot in it. The court will give me my share. And if it doesn't, it will. Trust me. But a month later, Marina found out the court case had already ended, and Denis had lost completely. She was furious. You've been lying to me for a whole month. About the land, the court case, everything. Why? I wasn't lying, Denis said. I just hoped. Hoped for what? That I'd be stupid and never find out? Denis, I wanted something real. But I don't like liars. I love you, Marina. But I don't love liars.
Goodbye.
Marina left for good. Denis was alone, again, stuck with his lies and lost dreams. By fall, it was clear he would never get the land back. His love life was a disaster, and work problems were piling up. He started yelling at coworkers, arriving late, making constant mistakes. By November, he got fired. Maybe this is a sign, Maxim said quietly. Maybe it's time to start a new life. Get a new job, meet new people. A new life. Dennis replied bitterly. Start over at 33? What am I supposed to do? Just sit here angry at my ex-wife. Not your ex, he added. I'm angry at the woman who stole from me. Berta Grigoryevna nodded. That's right, son. She used you, and then threw you away. Oleg, touching the scars he had from back then, muttered, I should have been tougher with her. I should have shown her who was in charge. But it's too late now. Meanwhile, the house on the land was almost finished. By the end of autumn, it was ready. A beautiful two-story house with big windows, large rooms, and a cozy terrace. Just like Polina had dreamed of. It turned out perfect, said Alexei, walking around the house with Polina. I'm really proud of it. Thank you for everything, Polina said. Without you, I never would have done this. You would have, Alexei replied. You're strong. You just needed a little push. They stood on the terrace, looking out at the forest. The lake sparkled between the trees. The air was fresh and clean. Alexei, Polina said suddenly, now that the house is finished and the work is done, what do you want to happen next? I want us to keep seeing each other, he said quietly. Not just for work. I really want to. I want that too, she said. They kissed for the first time on the terrace of the house that would become their home. That winter, Polina moved into the new house full-time. She rented out her apartment in Moscow. The money would help support the new place. Alexei helped her move in, and somehow, without making a big deal of it, he just stayed. I really like it here, he said. Can I stay? Forever? Polina asked. If you'll let me. I will, she smiled. In the spring, Polina opened a small guest house business. The house was big enough to host people on weekends. It was an elite village with clean air and a beautiful lake. People from the city loved coming there to relax. This is a great idea, Alexei said. You'll make some income and the house won't feel so empty. Things started going really well. By summer, Polina already had regular guests. They left good reviews online. She even started thinking about expanding. Then, in August, 2 years after they first met, Alexei proposed. It happened simply during an evening walk around the property. Polina, will you marry me? He asked. I wanted to be official. I thought you'd never ask, she laughed. I've made up my mind, he said. I want to have kids with you. I want them to grow up here, close to nature. I want that too, Polina said seriously. I really do. They had a small, cozy wedding outside, in the open air. Guests stayed in the new house and the old gazebo. Everything felt warm and like family. At that same moment, bus number 38 passed by the edge of the village, heading to the next town. Berta Grigoryevna was sitting in the back, coming home from visiting some relatives. As the bus slowed down near the pine forest, she glanced out the window toward the village, without thinking. What she saw made her jump in her seat. On plot number 42, which she still thought of as her son's, there was a wedding going on. A big, beautiful two-story house was covered in flowers. Elegant guests were sitting at decorated tables. And right in the middle of it all stood Polina, wearing a white dress, next to a man Berta had never seen before. You little! Berta Grigoryevna hissed, digging her fingers into the seat in front of her. The bus started moving, but she had already seen what mattered. Where there used to be a small garden house, now stood a luxury cottage. The whole area looked clean, green, and full of flowers. And that woman, as if nothing had ever happened, was celebrating her second wedding. At home, Berta couldn't calm down. I saw your ex, she snapped at Dennis. She got married. She built a house with your money. What money of mine? Dennis asked bitterly. The money you put into that land. You built her a gazebo. You laid down paths, and now she's building her perfect life with another man. Dennis didn't answer. There was nothing to say. Maxim, who had already stopped caring about fighting for justice, just shook his head. Let her build what she wants. Why should we care? What do you mean why? Berta cried. She robbed Dennis. She didn't rob anyone, Maxim said. The court looked into it. Oh, please, Berta snorted. Courts are all corrupt. Oleg, who had tried to forget all the drama with the land, also spoke up calmly. Aunt Berta, come on. Isn't it time to let this go? Dennis never owned that land. He doesn't have it and never will. And that woman found a good man, loves her life, and does what's right, he added. So what? Berta snapped. Is my son doing something wrong? What does he even do? Oleg asked directly. He doesn't work, he doesn't get married, he just walks around angry at the whole world. How is that right? Shut up, Dennis shouted, jumping from his chair. It's none of your business. Whose business is it then? Oleg replied. You've been complaining about that land for 2 years. Maybe it's time you focused on your own life. Easy for you to say, Dennis muttered. What's so hard? Oleg said.
Find a job. Clean your place.
Meet a decent woman. But to do that, you need to stop acting like a victim. Dennis wanted to yell back, but no words came out. Oleg was right, and that's what hurt the most. Meanwhile, back at the site in the pine forest, the wedding continued. Polina smiled brightly. For the first time, she had a real family, a real home, real love. Are you happy? Alexei asked after the guests had gone.
Very, she said.
And you know what? I'm actually thankful for everything that happened. If it weren't for Dennis and all his tricks, I never would have figured out what I really want in life. And what do you want? He asked. Respect. Understanding. To be asked, not ordered. To have my rights and not be stepped on. You'll always have that, Alexei promised. And he kept his word. A year later, they had a son. A year after that, a daughter. The kids grew up happy and healthy in the big country house with its garden. But Dennis never managed to fix his personal life. Every time he met someone, it ended the same way. As soon as things got serious, the truth came out. No house of his own, no steady job, no plans, just bitterness and endless stories about how unfair life was. Berta Grigorievna kept feeding his anger, but even she got tired. Dennis became more and more tense and hard to talk to. Maxim got married and moved to another city. Oleg also settled down and stopped visiting so often. And one autumn day, as the bus passed the pine forest again, Berta saw something new on plot number 42, a children's playground with swings and a slide. 2 little kids played on the grass while their smiling parents watched over them. Berta Grigorievna turned away from the window and didn't look back.